That's my baby.
I'm Dana Denha.
And I'm Melissa Bondi. And this is Adventures in Parenthood, where we take a ride on the roller coaster that we call parenting.
More and more often in these times of turmoil, you hear people retort the sentiment, be kind to others. You never know their personal struggles. As you have kids and your life becomes more complicated, sometimes you can be riding a wave of joy that you hope never ends. And other times you feel like you're in too deep and you need help. I'm sure we've both felt these things in our raising our daughters. Melissa, I know having a daughter and just being a mom in general makes your life exponentially more complicated, and it's things that no one can forewarn you about being a parent. Like, you have no idea the hurdles that are going to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we both know what is to come, what we are about to face as far as the pressure and the everyday just being a female, and from what we can remember, whether it's our teen years, adolescence, and so on. So yeah, I think I'm already starting to. I feel a little bit, believe it or not, had some bullying issues. I don't know if I'm going to equate it to age, and my daughter being like the youngest of the group of her friends. So that's what I want to equate it to, because I'm like, this stuff can't be starting this early. It can't be. There's no way. Or these kids are 4 and 5 and 6, but times are different. Times are different than when we grew up. So.
And like I said, you never know what's going to happen with your kids. And our next guests have had a lot of ups and downs with their family. They're a family of 4, and they've dealt with a lot of health struggles. I think some things that many of us may feel like we couldn't deal with, and you have to rise to the occasion when it happens. Welcome, Nicole and Jay Lights, to the show.
Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Hello.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your family?
So we have an 11-year-old who will be 12 in January. Her name is Macy, and she has Angelman Syndrome. And then we have an 8-year-old who was typically developing, and around age 2.5, we went through a year of chemo treatments when we found out she had what was called Langerhans cell histiocytosis, which is another rare cancer. But also Angelman is also very rare. So we had 2 very rare things happening in our home.
I can imagine the stresses that you two were dealing with at that time, to have both your daughters sick, basically.
Or how did you cope at that time? Once you found out, what mechanisms did you use?
We had a lot of dance parties.
We did.
We tried really hard just to to stay upbeat, stay positive, stay together as a family. And we would literally have dance parties, because our daughters respond to music, and we love to dance, and we just we had to try to keep a positive frame of mind. So we did a lot of dance parties, and just tried to laugh and love each other as much as we could.
I love that. I'm a dance party person too. I'll dance party all day long if I have to.
I remember having quite a few of them, and once in a while I would leave the room to just catch my breath of like, because there's just so much going on, but we were trying to, mask it and stay positive and forget about it for a few minutes, but that wasn't always very easy, that's for sure.
So Nora then ended up just going through treatments, and she's fine now, right? No sign of cancer at all?
Yeah, she's doing really well. She's, like I said, she's 8 now. We finished treatments just before she turned 4. And she's really, we were going back every 3 months, and then every 6 months. We're now at the year, every year we go for scans and x-rays and things like that. But she's doing really well, though every time she complains of any aches or pains, we both look at each other with a look of terror, because we don't ever want to go back into that situation again. So, yeah.
Do you want to tell us just briefly, I didn't know anything about the syndrome. I didn't know the disease. I didn't know anything until I saw a Facebook post on it. Do you want to tell us briefly what it is and what were the signs that you saw from when it started?
we're both teachers. Jay and I are both teachers. And so we noticed early on that Macy wasn't hitting milestones. And we were kind of hyper aware of that, especially because the hospital we had her at, they had a support group for parents. And everyone that was born in January of 2009 at that hospital at that time, we were all in a support group together. So all the kids were within a couple weeks of each other. And you could significantly tell a difference with them, with the way they were sitting up and the strength that they had to do things, crawling. And so we kept bringing it up to our doctor. We kept saying, this doesn't seem right. And she also had a lot of health issues with breathing and asthma and food allergies. We were in and out of the hospital for different things and we couldn't figure it out. There was a lot going on. It all ended up being a lot of it related to muscle tone. But it was an allergist that we worked with that our doctor just kept saying, every kid is different developmentally. It's not going to happen on the same timeline, which is true. But it seems pretty significant to us. Like things just didn't seem right. And so our allergist was actually the one who referred us to the early on program and started having us evaluated through that when she was about 9 months old. And that's when we started working with physical therapists and OTs and things like that to work on her sitting up and getting towards the point where she could kind of crawl and scoot and things like that. But we just started getting test after test. We ended up going to neurology and genetics and just having all kinds of tests to figure out what was going on. I think we were tested for Fragile X and we were tested for cystic fibrosis. They did a whole chromosomal panel that showed nothing at first. And then they did another one, which was called the FISH study. And that kind of goes deeper. So they kind of described it as going like if you're in a plane and you can maybe see some smoke, but you don't really see the flames yet when there's a fire. So they said they had to go deeper. And then when they did that, they noticed there was a small deletion on her 15th chromosome, which is either Prader-Willi or Angelman syndrome. And so she ended up having the deletion on the side that makes it Angelman syndrome and not Prader-Willi.
Okay.
I think one of the things that can be really scary is not knowing. And I think that part was really probably one of the hardest parts for you guys is like dealing with this and going to all these doctors and the strangest place finding some answers sort of at an allergist where you weren't really expecting much probably.
Right. We were there to deal with these food allergies and then it led us to the path to finding out so much more.
It's kind of an odd feeling to get the diagnosis because there was a little bit of a relief to know and have some answers, but then some of the long-term issues that we were concerned about when we found out about Angelman syndrome, that also kind of was a punch to the gut. So it was a lot of sleepless nights, I think, for both of us when we didn't know what was happening, but we could tell, there was something going on with Macy.
Mm-hmm. And we got kind of a false sense of like everything was going to be okay when each test came back okay. It was like, nope, it's not that. Okay. But then we knew something was still
right.
And so we actually got the diagnosis in kind of a unbelievable way. We were at an eye doctor because she had like strabismus where her eye would go out a little bit. And he read it in her chart before the letter had arrived in our mail. So he said it to me and I'm like, what? She has what? I don't even know what that is. And so I drove out of there and called a friend because he was at work. And I said, can you look up this syndrome? I don't know what this is. I've never heard of it before. And I got home in the mail. It was in my mail. The diagnosis was in the mail. So I waited for him to get home from work. And it felt like our world was kind of crashing in at that point. It was an awful, awful day.
And I don't know if we want to get too much into the numbers, but how rare is this? Is it more common? Is it rare? I found after speaking to you, I actually know someone else who's got a son with this. And I'd never heard of this until Facebook recently.
The numbers are 1 in 15,000 births is the number that they give. And we had never heard of it either when we got the diagnosis. And immediately went to the internet, which is not always a great idea. But now we're engaged in this wonderful community of other parents and caregivers, and like you said, now we know so many people. It's like, how do you not know? But
Yeah.
it is very rare, 1 in 15,000 births.
I believe now it's also one of the pre-screens that people do at like their 12-month checkup, like the blood test that they do. It's on there now, which it wasn't before.
It does seem like some families don't get answers, and it's misdiagnosed sometimes as autism or cerebral palsy.
Okay.
And kind of depending on your pediatrician and your people in your circle like that, and how sometimes you got to push to get answers.
Okay. So does she have a specialist that she sees? Like what type of doctor? Is it just
right now, our main ones are neurology. We also go to a PMR doctor for like physical medical, like for her, she has like AFO braces for her legs. And we see our pediatrician not very often now, but we used to do it like every week, I felt like, for a while. So we do have specialists in that way. Like she, has every couple of years we go to a specialist for her eyes, allergies. We go, like, there's just that, we got all kinds of.
Angelman's like a case by case? You don't know the severity, each person's different. How does it work? I mean, and were you unsure of what Macy would be capable of as she grows older?
Yeah, definitely. There's different variations. And so there's a translocation when the gene is like in the wrong spot. And then you're likely to have many children with Angelman. Then there's one that's mutation where it's just not right. And so that's like a 50-50 chance that your children would have that. With our case, it was a deletion, which many of them are deletion, where it's just a random thing. It doesn't have nothing to do with Jay or I. It was just randomly deleted on the maternal side of that 15th chromosome. And they said when we first went, we even traveled to the Cleveland Clinic at one point to get more answers, and they had said it was a pretty significant deletion, but they do vary. Some children with Angelman or adults with Angelman have some words, like they'll say 5 to 7 words. Some are completely nonverbal, like Macy. She's definitely not quiet, but she's nonverbal. And there's kids that never walk and never talk. And so when we first got the diagnosis, as Jay said, we saw all these things they would never do.
Sure.
But we were just like pushing all of the therapies and everything right from the get-go. So she was in hours and hours of like PT, OT, speech, like all those things right from the get-go early on. And we were lucky enough she does walk with assistance. I mean, her balance isn't great. So we always have to make sure she walks, and she's communicating using an iPad, and it's kind of like a device like an iPad. So we're working on that for her to communicate, because her frustration, she gets pretty frustrated without being able to tell us, things like that. So
I think you had also mentioned swimming. She's a big swimmer there.
Oh yeah.
That's typical of Angelman kids. They gravitate towards water. They like playing in water. It's pretty common.
Okay.
So she loves to swim. She loves the water. It's one of the things that we like to do as a family as much as we can in the summer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's the only time she's really content, like where we can let her be in her life jacket and kind of independent a little bit, where we're not chasing her down around the house and she's getting into everything. Like the last weekend, she was in the shower and flooding our bathroom with her clothes on and like things like that. It's like constant. She's constantly in. We wouldn't be able to do this call if we didn't have a caregiver in the other room. She's just, always into something, right? But water is a savior, but it's also scary for a lot of families. There's been a lot of unfortunate accidents because they, if they get out of the house and go to nearby water or something like that, it's very dangerous. So it's an obsession, but sometimes can be really scary too. So we have to be really careful with that. Yeah.
All right. On that note, we'll be back in exactly 60 seconds with more from the Leitz family. And we're back with the Leitz family, Nicole, Jay, Nora, and Macy. And we were just learning a little bit more about Macy and Nora. And we were talking about how much Macy loves the water and how it's so nice to have that with Angelmans. And it's like such a nice relief to have. And it sounds like sort of a fun thing with the family and together.
Macy loves her sister. She's her biggest fan. So she's always giving her big bear hugs and getting her by the neck, around the neck, big squeezes, right?
Yeah.
Nora, are you a big swimmer too? You like the water?
You like the water?
Yeah.
Yeah, she loves it too. So that's a fun thing for them to do together.
Together,
That and they love to be on their iPads together on the weekend. They like to snuggle and watch their iPads together. Right?
Aw.
I will
So
say
no-
there's nothing like having a sister, and they're both very lucky to have each other.
Yeah, this one's had to get really tough, right? Tough love sometimes. She's
Yeah,
really,
I'm
she's
sure.
a little bit, her squeezes and everything are tight sometimes. So she's always getting hair pulled and that, but Nora's been a really great sister to her and really good with her, right? Yeah.
Nora, you're 8. Is that correct? You're
Yes.
8? Okay. And how has it been with your sister the last couple of years?
It's been fine.
Just fine. Do you have any stories? You probably have a few. Huh?
Do you have any fun stories to share?
My sister and I like to go swimming almost every day in the summer.
But I hear you're also a big Disney fans, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we like to go on the rides. Especially Macy likes to go on the really scary ones, upside down and everything, right, Macy?
Oh my gosh. Already? Holy moly.
Yes, she does. She loves it.
Are they you guys like the princesses or the characters? Do you have any favorites?
My favorite Disney princess is my favorite Disney princess is Cinderella.
Macy likes the face characters more than the princesses. She likes to see like Mickey and
Okay.
Minnie
Yeah.
and things like that, and also loves like Santa. Loves to go see Santa, things like that. She's very into that. Loves to go visit.
Okay. How has it been with schooling and taking care of your sister and watching out for her?
I have to go to school only like 2 days a week.
Mhm.
But she goes and so I have to play with her every time she gets back from school.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta get that playtime in there every day, of course.
Macy's in an ABA therapy program, so applied behavior analysis. So she goes there full time now instead of regular school programming, and so she goes like 9 to 4 every day. That's her program there. It's been really really good for her. It's all one-on-one, and they do have some group time. And this is the first time she saw Nora today, so that's what she's extra excited.
You know what? I was on the website for Angelman Syndrome, and they have like those little PSAs where families talk. And I loved that. It was so nice. But the one thing that really stuck out to me is how they talk about people that have Angelmans have this happy demeanor, and I can just see that Macy has a smile on her face all the time, and I love it. It's beautiful.
She's happy even at inappropriate times. Like she'll laugh if somebody like falls or things
I'm
like
with
that.
you, Macy.
Yeah. So she's always got a lot of energy and excitement in there. Hi, Macy.
One of the things that I was questioning was dealing with other parents, and how has that been when they meet your girls or they meet you or they meet your family, and how has it been meeting strangers and having a child with this syndrome?
Well, I think what's interesting is sometimes because Macy doesn't necessarily look like differently. I know sometimes if you see the whole picture, you'll see braces on her foot, or she might be in a wheelchair if we're out in public, something like that. But a lot of times people don't know right away, but when they do, sometimes they'll try to talk to her and whatnot. So we usually, we'll introduce and, say, this is Macy or whatever.
Okay.
But I know I had shared sometimes that because she does make all that noise, or she kind of startles a lot of kids, even kind of intimidates them. So when I might have a friend over or that, they might look like, they're kind of frozen in place, like they're not sure because she is loud and excited and shares that. So Nora does a nice job of trying to like include her, or like to, we work on that with hers, just to like not leave her out when you're with our cousins and they all go running off, like to just kind of include Macy once in a while so she feels
Sure.
that. But we had a really awesome experience this summer at our community pool. One of the neighborhood kids who's in middle school, like went up to Nora, and she knew her because she used to be a safety at her school. And she was like, oh, is that your sister? And she's like, can she play too? And she kept on trying to include her in the pool. And so I just thought it was really nice, because even if they smile at her and say hello, she just wants to, just like you would with someone who is verbal, she wants that same kind of interaction. She's very social.
Sure.
And so when kids give her that attention, she just is over the moon excited about it. And so I went up to the dad and I just said, I just wanted to compliment your daughter, because not many people could actually come up to her and make her feel included and to talk to her, even though she couldn't really participate in the game. And so that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it just made our day for sure.
You bet.
How can we find out more about Angelmans and ways that we could support people growing up with it?
Yeah, well, we have two awesome organizations that we found from the very beginning, and it's been we've been so privileged to know that we've met so many people. I remember the first call I made when I felt like nothing, like she was going to be able to not do all these things. The first call I made was to the Angelman Syndrome Foundation, and they answered the phone, and I was talking to one of the founders, like off the bat on the phone. And she was telling me how her daughter had Angelman syndrome, and that she came to their work and did shredding of paper and things like that for them as an older child with it. And so I just thought, okay, here she is, like volunteering at this office, and there's things that we had to have that outlook, like even though they say this might not happen, it might happen for her. And then the other organization that we found after that was the Foundation for Angelman Syndrome Therapeutics. Their logo is fast, and they are looking to cure Angelman. And so we went to our first gala when she was a couple years old, and we heard a doctor speak from the University of Tampa at the time, and he talked about them having this all these ideas about what they would do to help cure it, and that one day we might hear our children speak, and we might see the seizures go away, or we might, all those things. So it gave us so much hope. We pulled them aside at the gala, and I was all in tears because it gave us that glimpse of hope. And so every year we're so motivated by the things that we hear there, and the things that they're doing. They started some clinical trials, some human clinical trials this year. They've cured it in mice many years ago. So there's a lot on the horizon for us that could be happening. They're doing these trials that we aren't a part of yet, but we're super excited about it. And there's a lot of good things happening, especially now. So we've been hanging in there, and we hope that one day we'll get to reap the benefits of all of that.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us on Adventures in Parenthood.
Yes.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Having us.
If you have an idea for a parenting show topic or guest, talk to us on Twitter and Facebook at #PTN
For more on our programming and services, visit a2gov.org/CTN or visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to watch our full lineup of programs. And remember to comment, like, and share. Thanks for joining us on this adventure in parenthood.